Hello, everybody, and welcome to the beautiful Grumpy Gator Cafe. This is Behavioral Health Espresso. Bold, rich, short, powerful little ideas on how you can improve your overall mental wellness, right? Who doesn't want to improve their emotional and behavioral functioning? Come on now, jump on the bandwagon. I'm curious, have you ever played that game of Plinko? Remember that game? It's a board with a bunch of pegs and a disc, and you drop the disc and it bounces all over the place. And you're trying to determine which slot at the bottom of this board the disc will end up. You've seen it. Arcades, amusement parks, maybe you've even played it while camping with your friends. You know, two dogs, a chicken, and a one eyed mule named Fred. That's quite the camp out. That is fun. But the excitement that comes with dropping the disc and watching it bounce around and move from side to side, predicting and anticipating before you drop the disc, where's it going to land? I think it's going to land in slot 5. No, 7. No, 3. And we put our money down and we begin the anticipation process when the disc is there and it gets dropped. And the anticipation and the excitement grows, particularly as our brain predicts where this disc is going to go. Nobody knows. We are completely out of control, but the excitement can build until, of course, our mind picks up on the reality that this disc ricocheting and juking and jiving and bouncing off the pegs is moving further and further away from the slot we picked. And then all of a sudden, that excitement, that joy, that thrill begins to fade. And what sets in? Doubt, despair, sadness. Oh no, we're going to lose. But that's the thrill of the game of Plinko. That's why we play. The excitement, the joy that we may win, even though the disappointment, the setback, the sadness that we lose is still a possibility, we play. Now, when your life is a metaphor, or I should say, when the game of Plinko is a metaphor for your life, that can be downright terrifying. Here you are putting your hopes and dreams in slot 3, no, slot 8, no, slot 6. And then the disc begins to fall and ricochet and bounce and move all over the board. What is our mind doing? With each bounce, with each ricochet, with each, juke and jive and movement of that disc off those pegs, our mind is building a pathway, predicting, anticipating. Are we going to get what we want? We've got our hopes and dreams right here. Will they become a reality? And as the disc bounces and gets closer and closer to our slot, we get more and more excited. But what happens when the disc moves away from where our hopes and dreams are put, where we've put them in that slot, where we've put our marker down? What happens when that disc moves away from that? Despair, sadness. We begin to feel the emotional change because our mind is predicting and anticipating we're moving further and further from our goal. We're moving further and further and further from the reality of our dreams becoming true. And that's devastating. Whether you're playing Plinko at a campsite or an amusement park, it's sad enough. But when it's your hopes and dreams, things you're really looking forward to, that new job, that new relationship, that pregnancy, that new home, that adventure of a lifetime and a vacation. And when suddenly our mind predicts and anticipates based on real time data that we're moving further and further away from the slot we selected, sadness, despair sets in. On the other hand, when the mind predicts and anticipates that that disc is getting closer and closer to the slot we've picked, the joy, the excitement, the energy elevates. What's making the difference? This: the miraculous 3 pounds of gray matter wedged between our ears, predicting and anticipating we're going to win or we're going to lose. That's what really makes a difference. What also makes a difference is the psychological fitness skills of being able to communicate, to express what we're thinking and feeling. When that disc is bouncing around and we're like, come on, baby, come on. And it's going into our lane and we're like, come on, hit my slot, hit my slot. Woo! We're communicating. We're letting everybody around us know how we feel. and what we're thinking. And that, my friends, is healthy and effective. So every day, communicate with other people. Let them know what you're thinking and feeling. Let them know. It's good for you because it's expressive. It's good for them. They know where you're at. They can cheer with you, or they can provide you that empathy and the support that comes with falling short of your goal. So, communication is key when metaphorically you're playing a game of Plinko with your hopes and your dreams. The other thing is just being able to cope, being able to tolerate both the joy and the excitement, but also the sadness and the disappointment. Having the skills to be able to emotionally regulate. Boy, that's hard. That really is hard. That's tough to build. That's life experience. That's also understanding that whether I win, the disc falls into my hopes and dreams, or whether it doesn't, that's just one moment in time, one story, one chapter in the book, in the volumes of books that are known as our life. And so part of our coping with being terribly disappointed or even overly excited is that this is a singular moment. There will always be tomorrow, or I should say, we hope there always is a tomorrow. The reality is none of us can say for sure there will be a tomorrow. But whether the disc lands in our slot or doesn't, we will move on. We will survive. It sucks when it doesn't land in your slot. It's horrible when your hopes and dreams are unfulfilled. But you will survive. You will move on. Even if it lands in your slot and woo, yeah, there's no guarantee that that energy, that joy, that excitement, those dreams will continue because there's always the next step. There's always the next move. Life is a flow. And so being able to cope and acknowledge and accept that even though the disc lands in my spot or doesn't, it's a singular moment in time. There will be yet another story. There is a continuation. There's another page to this story. And so, no matter what happens, I'm continuing to move forward. That's coping. Or I'm continuing to move in a different direction. Sometimes healing is moving left or right or diagonal or even backwards. Rivers move back on themselves all the time, but they're still flowing. So when you're playing the game of Plinko, remember, communicate. Let people know what you're thinking and feeling. Cheer or go, damn. Communicate, express it, get it out. Let others know what you're thinking and feeling. Help them help you. And the second thing is remember that the story is always ongoing. Even when the Plinko disc doesn't land in our slot, there will always be another game. There's always an opportunity to take another step. But when it does land in your slot, be celebratory, be excited, but know that the story continues. The river still flows. You're still going to keep moving beyond this one moment in time.